Hey, it is Rachel, and it is summer as I'm recording this video, and I can't tell you the number of parents who have told me that they may be lying by the pool talking to some friends or at a neighborhood party talking to some friends, and their kids keep coming up to them and interrupting them. And I'm not just talking about parents of 2 and 3 and 4-year-olds. I'm talking about parents of teenagers as well who keep coming up to them and interrupting them. So I want to give you some tips for how you can get your kids to interrupt you less so that you can enjoy your time more as an adult. Now, I want to start by saying that one of the most frustrating things about children and teenagers is that they are not yet little adults. They actually struggle with some tools that allow them to do what we ask, in this case, interrupt less. Because the truth is that kids are very impulsive. Their instinct is to do what they want and to do it in that moment. They're also what we call egocentric, which means that they're thinking about themselves and they're not necessarily thinking about you or what you are doing at that moment. They're also lacking the type of memory that allows them to keep their thought in their head while looking around them to see what's going on. So they have a question they want to ask you or they have something they want to tell you. It's hard for them to remember that while they're looking at what you're doing. So their instinct is to just interrupt you while you're talking. So that's why it's very difficult for them, and we need to keep that in mind. But as you know, I never think these are excuses for unwanted behavior. So how do we teach our kids to interrupt less? The first thing I want to suggest is to teach your kids to have a signal that they can use to let you know that they want your attention, but a signal that is not intrusive. So for example, what we do in our house is when my kids want me, I have them put their hand on my shoulder. And then I'll put my hand on top of their hand to let them know that I acknowledge them and that I will answer them when I'm done speaking. And just knowing that they are going to eventually get my attention does help a lot. Now, the important part here, though, is that you have to practice this and make this something that they just start to do naturally. And the best way to do this is for you to start to use this signal with them. I will tell you that I started doing this with my kids, and I realized that I interrupt my kids as much as, if not more, than they interrupt me. So when I started to do this signal, I realized what I was doing was, for example, I would be calling them from another room. They were playing together. They were doing something that they were in the middle of, and I'd call from another room and I'd say, "Hey ladies, what do you want for snack?" I completely interrupted them when I asked them the question that I wanted to ask them. So instead of interrupting them, I started using the signal. And what eventually happens if you start to use this over and over, and when you use this with them, is they start to realize, oh, this is normal. This is what you do when you want to talk to someone. This signal becomes very, very helpful, but I will give you one more tip that makes it even more helpful. And that is when you acknowledge your child and you tell them that you're going to talk to them in a few moments, you actually have to make sure you come back to them. Because a lot of the time, we tell our kids, oh, I'll be with you in 5 minutes, and then we get distracted so we don't actually go back to them. And they remember this. And so because they don't get our attention later, it becomes even more urgent to them that they let us know what's on their mind when it's on their mind. They become even more insistent that they have to tell us in that moment because they know they might not get a chance to tell us later. So have this signal with them, practice it with them by you using the same signal, and then just make sure you are getting back to them and answering their question or listening to their thought as soon as you can so that they don't make it such an urgent thing to be able to talk to you. So I hope that gives you some ideas. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at rachel@rachel-bailey.com, and I look forward to seeing you next time.